Hello, Finxters. The topic of our today's discussion is how to append to a file in Python. Now, generally, there are three different types of file operations that we perform. These are opening the file, then reading the file or writing to the file, and then closing the file. So, these are the basic three operations that we perform upon a file. So, when a file is opened, we can specify the mode in which the file will be opened. That is, whether it will be in text mode or binary mode. We can also specify whether we want to read a file, write a file, or append to a file. So let's have a look at these options, which illustrates the different modes available at our disposal while dealing with a file. For example, R is used to read the file, while W will be used to open the file in write mode. Similarly, there's a mode A, which will open the file for appending text at its end without truncating it. So this is the major difference between A and W mode. In write mode, the file will be truncated if it already exists, while in append mode, the file will not get truncated if it already exists. Rather, the values will be appended at the end, and if the file does not exist, in that case, a new file will be created. Now, before we proceed further, there is a very important concept that you should focus upon. While reading or writing to a file, access modes govern the type of operations performed on the file. Well, we already know that. Now, apart from handling the operations, the access modes also help us to control the file handle in a file. So, what is a file handle? Simply put, you can think of a file handle as the cursor that determines the location in the file from where the data will be read or written in the file. For example, if this is a file, then you can see that the file handle is at the end of the exclamatory mark, and this is where we will start appending data to the file. Well, now let's dive into the code and let's find out how we can append data to an existing file. So let's say that data.txt is a pre-existing file and we want to append some data at the end of this file, that is after the second line. So let's do that. So we will be following certain steps to solve this problem. We will first create a list consisting of the new texts to be appended to the file as elements within it. So let's go ahead and create the new list. Let's say we have a list li, and within it we have a new line. Let's say the new line is this is a new line. So all we need to do now is to open the file in the append mode. So with open data.txt, comma, and now I need to specify that I want to open the file in the append mode. For that, I'll use access mode A. So this specifies that I am trying to append data to the file. Now things get quite simple from here. We simply have to go ahead and use a for loop and extract the content in this list li. So let's say that we have two lines here. This is new line 1 and the next content is this is new line 2. We will append both these lines to the file. So let's iterate across the elements of the list for I or for line in li. Now we need to move the file handler to a new line using /n escape sequence. So what happens is that when the file is opened, the file handler is at this place. So we need to move it to the next line if we want to append the data to a new line, which is what we want to do in this case. So to do that, we simply go ahead and we will use f.write method, which will help us to write to the file, and we will write a new line before we write anything else to the file. After this, we simply go ahead and we write down the contents to the file. So the contents are stored within this variable line. So what happens is in the first iteration, this line of code gets appended to the file. But before this line of code gets appended, the file handler moves to a new line, and then this line of code gets, or this line of data gets appended to the file. And then we once again move into the next iteration and the file handler moves to the next line and this line of data gets appended to the file. So that's it. Now let's go ahead and execute this piece of code. Okay. Now let's find out if the data was properly appended or not. And there we go. As you can see that the data was appended to the file as we wanted it to be. Now you might be asking me that I don't want to append to a new line. What do I do in that case? Well, it's quite simple. In that case, you simply go ahead and remove this line of code because you no longer need to move the file handler to a new line, and you simply write the line onto the file. The point to be noted here is that you have to open the file in append mode, and that will help you append data to your file. Now, before we wrap this up, we will also have a look at how we can append data to a CSV file. So let's go ahead and find that out. Let's say that this is a given CSV file and we want to add on more books and their authors in this file. Now this is a given CSV file and as you can see that it has the name of a book and its author. Now we want to add more books and their authors in the CSV file. So let's go ahead and find how we can do that. Now the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and import the CSV module. Now let's say that this is the given JSON, which consists of the name of the authors and the books written by them. So the order is books is the key, whereas author is the value, and this is in JSON format. We will first go ahead and open the file in the append mode. Now what this new line parameter will do is that it will allow the CSV module to handle the line endings by itself. So you don't have to take care of the new line state sequence. It will be handled by the CSV module itself if you mention this parameter new line. We now need to create the CSV writer object. So let's go ahead and do that with the help of the writer method. And then we pass our file into the writer method. So this creates the writer object. Let's use a few comments so that we can visualize this better. We will now iterate across all the items within this list, and this list has numerous dictionaries. So let's first iterate across the list. So to do that, we will use a for loop for I in book. Now we will use another loop wherein we will iterate across each individual dictionary and we will extract the key value pairs. So we will simply use a loop such that for key, comma value in I. So this means we are iterating across each key and its value for every dictionary in this list. So it's going to be for key comma value in I dot items. So what we are telling Python here is that please iterate over each key and its value for every dictionary in this list book. Now let's go ahead and print the key and then its value. So that's it. Now let's go ahead and execute this piece of code. Oops, we have an error. Okay, it should not be TEMS, it should be items. Okay, now let's execute this once again. So let's have a look at the file itself and let's see if this works or not. It didn't work. So what's the mistake? Now let's have a look once again. We used a print statement, but this is not what we want to do. We do not want to print the key and the value. We want to write the key and the value to our CSV file. For that, we need to use our writer object and then use the write row method, which will help us to write a single row to the CSV file. So that means in every iteration, we are writing the name of the book and its author to the CSV file. So this is what the writer.writeRow method will help us to do. Now let's see if this worked or not. Before that, let's go ahead and close this file first. Now let's execute our code once again. Wonderful. Let's check the file and there we go. We have successfully appended the 3 books along with their authors in the CSV file. So this is how you can append to a CSV file. With that, we come to the end of this lecture. In this lecture, we learned how we can append to a normal text file. And then we also learned how we can append JSON data to a CSV file. I hope you found this useful. If you have any doubts, please mention them in the comments below, and I'll try my best to answer all your queries. Thank you.